do to bring rent hikes down and make life affordable for your constituents?
This has been a very hot topic in my campaign, a very hot button issue, I'll say, because this is what folks are saying out there. My rent keeps getting increased and my wages aren't going up fast enough to keep up. I'm getting priced out of not just my home, but my neighborhood, where my family and my neighbors and my community and my safety net are. We need rent stabilization. I'm glad to see this as something that has been pushed both in Olympia and now that we're seeing it at the federal level. If we don't keep people housed in their homes, then we're gonna have an increase in homelessness, and we know we don't have the space for that either. It's just wrong. What we're seeing is manufactured, it's created, and the responsibility falls on folks who've been in elected office over the last decade or more, who had the responsibility, who had access to the resources to have the foresight to plan ahead. The housing shortage in terms of supply that we're seeing, I agree with Molly Marshall, 100% affordable housing units need to be part of the investment plan and giving incentives for those. It can't just be this 15% or market rate, and they are destroying neighborhoods in terms of how they're setting prices. And then they're not even following the rules if there's no accountability. We have to work from the state down. We have to work with our local government as well, but we need to make sure we're protecting community members and people, especially our renters. So part of this is also making sure that we're not pushing people out. We've got to look at long-term rent stabilization ordinances. There were some that barely passed, I think a couple votes short. I will be that champion in Olympia to make sure we get long-term rent stabilization. That is what we need. There's going to be opportunities to build for the middle and build for the top, but until we build the supply we need for the bottom, we have to keep people. This is part of our safety and health. And I would challenge both my opponent here and my Democratic opponent to whether or not they will take a stand here and say that they will support long-term rent stabilization ordinances, because that is what our community is asking for, and that is what the data says we need. And it goes beyond that to making sure we make adjustments so folks stay in their home long-term, but also have access to good paying jobs, training, education, advancement, so they also have pathways to home ownership. We know home ownership is what creates long-term stability, which allows for there to be some form of generational wealth, but we're not seeing those pathways created, especially in neighborhoods like I come from, like in Hilliard, our East Central and West Central neighborhoods, where people are instead being pushed out. Let's have them be part of the growth and part of the building. Let's get them skilled. Let's get them part of our apprentice programs and into our labor and into our trades. So even if ultimately they're not able to stay in the neighborhood, they can be part of building the growth, and they can see some return on their investment in these neighborhoods that they've been in and built up and helped establish the culture and community there. I think a lot of times people see poverty and they don't see the people. And it's really important that we see the people behind it. We can have a fair and healthy market where our landlords are also getting fair treatment, can work in partnership with their tenants, and stabilize this market so everyone benefits. We don't have to just see the wealthier getting wealthier and the poorer getting poorer. We have to address this wealth gap. That is something we can do here in Olympia, and that is something that I'll work with Tim Ormsby, who's also solely endorsed my campaign, within Olympia, and fight really hard, because Spokane deserves those resources and our growth supports that.